Gorm is the reported son of semi-legendary Danish king Harthacnut. Chronicler Adam of Bremen says that Harthacnut came from Northmania to Denmark and seized power in the early 10th century. He deposed the young king Sigtrygg Nupassen, reigning over western Denmark. When Harthacnut died, Gorm ascended the throne. King Gorm did not found the Kingdom of Denmark. The most likely thing is that King Gorm's family had gradually become the richest and most powerful in Denmark. That is, the one who owned the most land, and therefore also had the most people in his bread or under him, and control of the most resources. The kings and the crown owned land throughout the kingdom. They ruled the kingdom by traveling between their possessions, and for a long time they received their income in labor. Heimskringla reports Gorm taking at least part of the kingdom by force from Nupa, and Adam himself suggests that the kingdom had been divided prior to Gorm's time. Gorm is first mentioned as the host of Archbishop Uni of Hamburg and Bremen in 936. According to the Jelling Stones, Gorm's son, Harald Bluetooth, won all of Denmark. So it is speculated that Gorm only ruled Jutland from his seat in Jelling. All that is known for sure about King Gorm is that he erected a runestone over his queen, and was given a distinguished burial in the North Mound in Jelling, from where his body was later moved into the first church between the mounds. It is assumed that he had a royal estate there, perhaps his favorite place to stay, and that this is the reason why he and perhaps also his queen Thyra were buried there by their son Harald, who followed his father on the throne. This is why it is called the Jelling dynasty. The royal estate in Jelling has not been found, and there is no credible background for later legends about King Gorm as dull and stubborn or even cruel. They were created more than 200 years after his death, when people began to call him the Old Man. When he died, he was not that old by modern standards. The man buried inside Jelling Church, who is believed to be Gorm, had died about 40 to 50 years old. He had been about 5 feet 8 inches tall and suffered from osteoarthritis in the lower spine. One theory is that Gorm died in the winter of 958 to 959. This is based on dendrochronology that shows that the burial chamber in the northern burial mound in Jelling was made from wood felled in 958. Denmark was an elective kingdom until the absolute monarchy, and the king had to work together with the great men of the kingdom, both the lords and later the powerful bishops of the church. And if he wanted his son as successor, he had to have him recognized while he was alive. Gorm was the father of 3 sons, Toke, Knut, and Harald, and one daughter, Gunhild. Toke became a warlord or petty king, known from several runestones. He died in 986 in the Battle of Uppsala. Knut was killed in the seizing of Dublin. Gunhild married King of Norway Eric Bloodaxe. The sagas relate that Gunhild lived during a time of great change and upheaval in Norway. Gunhild and Eric Bloodaxe were overthrown and exiled. She spent much of the rest of her life in exile in Orkney, Jorvik, and Denmark. Harald became king after his father.
Thyra was the wife of King Gorm, the Old of Denmark, and one of the first queens of Denmark believed by scholars to be historical rather than legendary. She is presented in medieval sources as a wise and powerful woman who ordered the building or fortification of the Donnevirke, consistent with her commemoration on multiple Viking Age runestones. These include those at Jelling, which was the seat of power for her dynasty. Thyra's parentage is unclear, with accounts produced by medieval historians and in Icelandic sagas during the 12th and 13th centuries being dubious and contradictory. They variously describe her as the daughter of an English king or a king in Jutland. According to Sven Agerson, Thyra was of German origin, and her marriage to Gorm had been arranged by the German emperor, to whom Gorm owed a large tribute. Having installed Thyra as Gorm's wife, she was to collect the tribute for the emperor. Agerson claims that Thyra refused to pay the emperor, heroically declaring that the Danes were no longer a tributary to the Kingdom of Germany. It is known that Thyra was married to Gorm, and that she died before him, because he erected the so-called Little Jelling Stone in her memory, and because she is mentioned on Harald Bluetooth's Great Jelling Stone as his mother and Gorm's wife. Everything else we hear about Queen Thyra is a later term or borrowing from other legends. One of them may have its roots in the nickname Danebod in the inscription on the little gelling stone. It probably means Denmark's ornament, but it was long believed that the meaning was Denmark's penance, that is, the one who punished or strengthened Denmark. The legend goes that Thyra was supposed to have built Dunavik using people from all over the kingdom to prevent the German emperor from conquering Denmark. The legend tells that the emperor proposed to the beautiful and wise queen, who he thought would have a better life with him than with her dull and boring King Gorm. He naturally wanted to include Denmark in the bargain, but when Thyra agreed to his proposal and asked for 3 years to gather suitable equipment, he agreed. During that time, the queen built Dunavik with help from people throughout the kingdom, and when the emperor came for his bride and his booty, he was given a long nose instead. The first phase of construction has been shown to predate Thyra's reign, with some trees in the fortification having been felled in 737. However, the defences were extended significantly several times until the 12th century. Another legend about Thyra's wisdom tells that she and Gorm had 2 sons, Knut, who was beautiful and good and wise, and Harald, who was the exact opposite. Gorm loved Knut and had declared that he would kill anyone who came and told him that Knut was dead. At that time, when young men went on Viking raids and were often in battle, many died early. Knut and Harald went on a raid to England together, and Harald killed his brother. He knew that Gorm wanted Knut as his successor, and Harald wanted to be king himself. When he returned home, he went to his mother and told her what he had done, and Thyra came up with a plan. She made everyone in the household walk around silently with sad faces, and she hung black mourning curtains in the hall. When Gorm came and saw it, he yelled out, "My son Knut is dead," and Thyra replied, "You said that, my lord king, not I." The northern How at Jelling, the seat of power for Gorm's dynasty, is traditionally known as Thyra's Mound, with the southern as Gorm's, although when excavated, no evidence of a body was found in it. Wooden artifacts from the How have however been dated by tree ring analysis to 959 to 960, which would put this as the latest date for Thyra's death if it is indeed her grave. It has been proposed that her burial in the larger Northern Barrow is consistent with the idea of her as a prominent woman who may have been even more powerful than her husband Gorm. Gorm died around 963, and while Saxo records in Gesta Danorum that Thyra died after her husband, it is typically believed that Thyra died before Gorm due to the Jelling 1 stone which he raised to commemorate her.